Hello guys, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Cooking with Dan! Alright guys, we're going to do a Hawaiian style pork roast with mashed potatoes and company. This is a good Sunday style dish. It does take a little bit longer to cook in the oven than my other dishes, but the preparation and the taste is well worth it. So what we're going to do is we're going to head on down.
Alright guys, so the ingredients for this dish are very basic, but there is a fair bit of preparation that needs to be done. So the first thing we're going to need is our pork. So I've gone with a pickled pork, and the reason for this is because it's already pre-salted and the flavour is going to go really well with our other ingredients. Okay, next we're going to need is our pineapple. So this is pre-sliced. I've got a canned tin, you can use any of the varieties. And next, of course, we've got is our brown sugar. So make sure that is brown sugar, not the raw sugar. The difference is that you'll see it is quite molassity, quite sticky inside the bag. Next, we need just your normal everyday table salt. And then we need potatoes for the mashed spud. Spring onion for dressing. Okay, next we're going to need is a smoky barbecue sauce. And then some twine for wrapping our meat. A clove of garlic, and then we're going to need a basting brush, a bowl for our basting mixture. Of course, last but not least, we're going to require bacon. So this is picnic bacon. It's a much longer style stripped bacon, but it doesn't have the rind or fat on it that normally does with other bacons. Okay guys, let's get straight into the process. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our pre-washed pork roast, and then we're going to cut into this. And what we're trying to do is we're going to get this to flatten out and splay out. So we're going to take our roast and we're going to have a look at it, and we're going to check to see where the bone was removed from this. So as you can see in here, the bone was removed from that side. So we're going to swivel this around, and we're going to be cutting into the pork on the opposing side of where this bone hole was. So we're just going to take our knife and we're going to go about 1 centimeter down on the roast, and we're just going to lightly flay into this. And what needs to be done is we're going to be continue to cut all the way along, even strokes, continually peeling the back and having a look and making sure that we're not cutting through the meat to the other side. We're going to get right through until we're about 1 centimeter away from the edge of the roast. So, and then we have about that centimeter away, and what we're going to do is we're now going to spin it all the way around, and we're going to drop down about 2 centimeters. Now that means we're not cutting into the original cut, and we're just going to continue to cut back and forth, lifting up this roast to make sure that we're not cutting into where the first cut line was, and getting the roast to all the way to the other side, about 1 centimeter away, until we flay it all the way out. Just like that guys, we have flayed out our pickled pork roast. So we're just going to along and just trim this up to make sure that we've got no extra bulging bits and it is relatively flat the whole way through. Okay guys, so I have just washed my hands and we're going to move this board aside. Next step we're going to do is get our basting mixture ready. So what we're going to use is this smoky barbecue sauce. Now we're just going to squirt this into the bottom of the bowl, and this container is about a 500 ml bottle, so I'm going to use about a quarter of it. So we're going to work somewhere around 125 grams of sauce. And next we're going to grab our brown sugar. This is a 500 gram pack of brown sugar, so I'm going to take about a third to a quarter out of this, so we're going to work somewhere around again the 125 gram mark. And next we're going to grab our table salt. Now we need about a teaspoon worth. It's not an exact measurement, so I'm just going to use my hand and pour this straight into there, and then I'm just going to throw that straight into the mixture. Then the last ingredient that we're going to need for this is garlic. So I'm going to grab that garlic, but before I do this I'm going to wash my hands because I am covered in all sorts of yummy stuff. Okay guys, so with clean hands we grabbed a new chopping board and that clove of garlic, and we're just going to peel and dice this up and put it straight into the mixture. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is we're going to take our basting brush and we're going to give this a good stir and mix up. Our mixture is now ready to go, so we're just going to slide our chopping board back over and we're going to start basting this. So we're going to use about 2/3 of this mixture just to coat the entire slab of meat. Next we're going to grab that bacon, and we're just going to grab full lengths of ration, and we're just going to lay it lengthways with the meat. And this slab of meat is probably going to use about 3 or 4 slices of bacon. And waste not, want not, I'm going to put that aside for tomorrow's breakfast. Next we're going to grab our pineapple slices. So we just want to lay 2 slices right at the start of the roll of the roast. And then we're going to grab the end of the roast and we're going to roll it over. So it should fold over until the pineapple is completely gone and you can't see it. And then the next step is we're going to grab another couple of pieces of the pineapple and repeat the process until the roast is completely rolled. And then we have our beautiful rolled pork roast. So while we're rolling this, we had to make sure to keep this nice and tight so all the ingredients stay inside the roast. So before we move on to the next stage, I'm going to have to make sure that I wash my hands. Okay, so we're going to grab a new chopping board and we're just going to transfer this roast from this big chopping board to the smaller one. So we can then give this chopping board here a clean. Okay, so with our clean chopping board, the next stage is to wrap this roast up. So we're going to take our cooking twine and we're going to unravel this and we're going to lay it out on the board so that it goes in a zigzag motion. Now, taking into consideration the size of that roast, we need to adjust these lines so that the roast is going to fit over all 4 of the lines. And then we're just going to pick up our roast and we're going to place that straight into the center of these 4 lines. And then we're going to take a knife and we're going to cut the intersections of the lines. So we end up with 4 lengths of string that we can tie over the top of this roast. And then we're just going to grab that first string and in a shoelace style knot we're just going to tie this together, pull it up nice and tight, and we're just going to repeat this process 3 more times. Okay, so we've finished wrapping the roast that way. We now need to turn the roast on a 90-degree turn, and we're going to have to wrap it now from the other direction to keep the roast in together. First off, I'm going to have to wash my hands. Okay, so with clean hands, we're going to grab that cooking twine out again, and instead of doing the zigzag 4 times, we're just going to do this so we have 2 lines. We take our knife and we're just going to cut that short and cut the other end so we end up with 2 strings that we can tie over the top of the roast. Again, judging the size of the roast, we now pick it up and place it over the top of the strings, and we're going to tie it up in the same fashion we did the other ones. And there we have our beautiful made pork rolled roast. So we're just going to grab a glass baking dish, one with a lid, and we're going to take that and we're going to place that straight into that glass baking dish. And we're going to grab our basting solution. This is why we left some of it over, and we're just going to baste the entire top and sides of this roast. And as a final touch, I'm going to take the last couple of pieces of pineapple I've got, and I'm just going to lay them straight on top of the roast. They're going to golden up and give it flavour. Grab our lid, and we're now going to take this and place it in a preheated oven of about 250 degrees Celsius for about an hour, and then we are going to, in the meantime, get our potatoes ready to cook. Okay guys, so while our roast is cooking, we can move straight on to the mashed potatoes. Now, mashed potatoes are one of the easiest dishes in the world to cook, as long as you follow some simple tips. Now, I've said it before in previous videos and I stick by it, keep the skins on. Now, I know if you've got kids, this can be tricky, but it is well worth it, and all you need to do is make sure you give the potatoes a really good scrub, and if you're an adult, try it. It's never going to hurt you. So the potatoes are now done. We're going to grab the other half of the clove and we're going to chop that up. Okay guys, so I've already grabbed a pot and I've half filled it full of water. And we're going to add now salt to that. And I'm going to use my hand again as a measurement. We can use about half a teaspoon worth of salt straight into that pot. And then we're going to grab our ingredients and we're going to add them all into the pot as well. Okay, we're going to give this a quick stir and then we're going to bring it into the boil until the potatoes are nice and soft. So what we need to do is get to the point where we can get to the fork or a knife and push in potatoes without any resistance. And then we know that the potatoes are cooked and ready for mashing. Okay guys, so our roast has now been cooking for about an hour, and approximately 10 minutes ago I placed my spuds on for cooking. So that's now ready and I've pulled them off. Now, as I said before, the easiest way to tell is I can take the knife and I can push into those potatoes and there is virtually no resistance to the knife. So we're now going to just put these potatoes aside for a minute while we chop up our spring onions, which we're going to put on top of the dish. Just for a bit of a nice presentation. And heading back over to the potatoes, we're going to now mash these potatoes up. First we're going to take our milk, and I'm just going to add a splash of milk. Now anyone who's watched my previous videos knows that I have switched away from normal dairy and have now gone to a soy version. So we're just going to splash some of it in there. And then next we're going to grab some of the butter, as I've said in previous videos as well. Unfortunately you can't get a soy version of butter, so I still use the normal butter for these. And we just want to add a bit of salt on top of that as well. We're going to grab our masher. And we're just going to mash these for about a minute and a half until they come up to a nice fluffy texture. There we have our potatoes ready to go and serve on our dish. So we're just going to grab the roast now out of the oven that has been cooking for approximately an hour and 15 minutes and see how that's come up. Okay, here it is guys, the Hawaiian roast fresh out of the oven. Look at that beautiful color that we've established on top of the roast. So what we're going to do now is just to check to make sure that this roast is cooked all the way through. You can usually tell by the side because we've rolled the roast. If it's cooked all the way through on the sides, it's ready to go. So we're going to grab a chopping board and we're going to remove this roast out of this baking dish. There's no real set way of doing this. Just grab it, just remembering that the glass dish is going to be really hot and the roast is going to be really hot. So try to keep your fingers away from that. Now we're just going to cut all the strings off this roast. And gently grabbing the roast by the side, we're just going to slice this and show you what it looks like before I go and plate this meal up for me and my partner to enjoy. As you can see, it's cooked all the way through. The pineapple helps with this because the juices keep it moist, and having a closed lid glass baking dish has kept all those juices into the pan and cooked all the way through. The barbecue sauce we've used has given us a nice glaze, and the bacon has given the smoky flavor. So I'm going to plate this up and show you what it looks like. Guys, our rolled Hawaiian pork roast done with our mashed potato with a little bit of garlic in there, glazed with a barbecue sauce. Remember to follow the page and like it to keep up with more exciting videos of Cooking with Dan.